All right, let's get right into this Code Ninja security advisory regarding a critical Android zero-day vulnerability. I'm issuing this alert today because, frankly, the landscape has just shifted. We're looking at a highly active, highly portable threat that essentially turns simple developer convenience into a completely silent, lateral movement path right on your network. And as a white hat security researcher, my primary directive is to make sure you have the absolute unvarnished facts you need to secure your perimeter.
Here is our tactical briefing protocol for today's explainer. First, the zero-day threat. Then, a security comms check, assessing the blast radius, the mitigation protocol, and finally, ethics and sign-off.
Section 1. The zero-day threat. Immediate disclosure. We're going to start directly with the threat vector so you understand exactly what we are up against here. The payload we're dealing with is a zero-click remote code execution flaw and is specifically targeting the Android Debug Bridge's wireless debugging protocol. Tracked as CVE 2026-0073, here's the reality of the situation. I want you to imagine an attacker just sitting on your local coffee shop Wi-Fi, or even worse, your corporate guest network. They can literally gain complete remote shell access to your locked Android phone without you ever clicking a link, downloading a malicious payload, or approving a single prompt. It is a completely silent takeover.
Now look at this timeline. It shows an incredibly rapid weaponization cycle. A public proof of concept dropped just one single day after the CVE publication. Look at that sequence. From the initial fix in late March to a highly stable exploit published to GitHub by May 5th. That is a tight, 24-hour window from official publication straight to public weaponization.
Our objective with this intelligence is absolutely clear. We have to force immediate mitigation across all exposed endpoints. Listen, this is not just some academic exercise. There are threat actors actively monitoring these disclosures, and they're integrating them into their toolkits within hours.
Section 2. Security comms check, establishing the link. In our line of work, verified intel is literally everything.
So I need to know, are you patched or are you vulnerable right now? I actually need to run a blast radius census in the comments right now to determine your operational status. Especially if you're managing a fleet of enterprise devices, I really need to know where you stand.
For your own safety, make sure to subscribe to @cybertech79 and enable those notifications for critical, real-time security intel. Go ahead and hit like, as a formal ACK, that's acknowledgement, of receipt for this briefing. And, like I just mentioned, comment your status below to help us track this threat and map the true blast radius out in the wild.
Section 3. Assessing the blast radius, impact and exposure. We need to clearly define exactly who is in the crosshairs today.
CISA assigned this a high-severity CVSS 3.1 base score of 8.8, primarily due to its really dangerous network-adjacent attack vector. Now, you might be wondering, why not a 9.8? Well, it's because the attacker actually needs to be on the exact same network segment, like your corporate Wi-Fi or a local public hotspot. But make no mistake, the zero-click nature of this thing, requiring zero user interaction and zero privileges, makes it critically dangerous for anyone operating within that adjacent network. What's absolutely critical to understand here is that we are looking at a logic error that essentially breaks the fundamental mutual TLS contract. Historically, back in Android 11, Google introduced mutual TLS, or mTLS, for wireless pairing. Basically, the host and the device were supposed to strictly authenticate each other. But a researcher discovered a fatal logic error right in the Android Debug Bridge Daemon. A bug in the ADBD_TLS_verify cert function actually allows an invalid certificate to just pass verification. So the attacker simply bypasses the authentication entirely and is handed a privileged shell. It's wild.
This data perfectly illustrates the broad attack surface we're dealing with, exposing devices from Android 14 all the way through 16 QPR2. And note carefully that Android 16 QPR2 was actually marked as unaffected in some early reports. But yeah, that status has been updated. So if your fleet is running any of these versions, you have a massive unauthenticated attack surface just sitting wide open on port 5555.
Now, for the standard users out there, you're mostly safe. The real targets in the crosshairs here are enterprise MDM environments and development labs. The absolute danger lies in developer convenience. Say a developer enables wireless debugging to test an app real quick, right? And then they just forget it's exposed. Well, that forgotten toggle quietly becomes a very real lateral movement path for an attacker.
Attackers can literally compromise locked smartphones, smartwatches, and even Google Chromecast TVs on your Wi-Fi if wireless debugging was ever left enabled. If you ever used it to sideload an app or push files over, those devices are vulnerable too. And remember, the targeted device can be completely locked with a PIN.
It does not matter. This connection bypasses the user trust check entirely.
And the weaponization is incredibly portable. Threat actors aren't exactly lugging around heavy laptops for this. They are using stealthy, pocket-sized Raspberry Pi U consoles and rooted smartphones running NetHunter. They can just walk into a conference room, connect to the guest Wi-Fi, and silently drop a shell on every single vulnerable device in the room.
Section 4. The Mitigation Protocol. Defensive Maneuvering. The crucial point now is exactly how we stop this lateral movement path right now.
All right, execute these defensive orders. Deploy the May patch, force disable wireless debugging, and block port 5555. First up, ensure your security patch level is at least May 2026. A simple Google Play system update works for newer devices. Second, get into your MDM platform and globally disable ADB wireless debugging on all production devices. Finally, segment your network. Restrict port 5555 to dedicated management VLANs only, and strictly monitor for anomalous TLS handshakes.
Section 5, Ethics and Sign-Off. Coordinated Disclosure. Let's wrap things up with the ethical framework driving this intel. We absolutely do not rely on security through obscurity. Instead, we practice coordinated vulnerability disclosure to force fixes and protect the perimeter. Hiding the technical details of a vulnerability doesn't actually stop threat actors from finding it. It literally only blinds the defenders. By practicing CVD, we ensure vendors are actually held accountable and that patches are rapidly developed and deployed. And we share this intelligence because network administrators and defenders need to know exactly how to protect their systems. If you don't understand that this is a logic error breaking mTLS on port 5555, you honestly can't write the right detection rules for your network. You need these exact mechanics to actively hunt for this threat in your environment.
So I'll leave you with this question. Has simple developer convenience compromised your infrastructure? Go check your fleets right now, audit your networks, and close this door. Stay secure.